This is a video for anybody new to Lilith, to have an overview of Lilith in the 12 signs and houses. So at the end of this video, you'll know what Lilith in general means for your sign, for your house. Now before I go into this, keep in mind that you should never consider an aspect to be isolated from everything else. If you have an aspect in your chart, it works in communion. It works together with other aspects. So keep that in mind when watching this video. Now, you know, before I go into the 12 signs and houses, I go into what Lilith actually represents in the natal chart. Lilith represents the need to individuate, to separate from the group. Lilith needed to separate from Adam. She left the garden. So we have the process of separation and individuation. We have the origin of this process in Lilith. So if you leave a narcissist, if you leave an abuser, a toxic family member, a toxic friend, you may be dealing with a Lilith situation. Lilith shows you where you stand up, what you scream about, where you take matters into your own hands. Because Lilith is primal, she's instinctive. Because Lilith is the first witch, she's the first woman, so she represents everything repressed in the collective, about femininity, about how to use your psychic gifts, how to intuit things, and simply act on that intuition. Because sometimes you need to act on what you feel, but sometimes this act is taboo. You're not allowed to do this. So, if you perform the act, you will be called a demoness. You will be demonized. You will be the bad guy. So Lilith in the natal chart shows you where are you the bad guy in the eyes of others. And also, it is about a victim persecutory complex. So you are being persecuted, where Lilith is in the natal chart, and you need to break out of it. You need to do the thing that is taboo. And then you'll be free. And then you'll be Lilith. Then you'll rage. Then you'll be sad. Then you'll grieve. You lose the object of attachment, which in Lilith's story was Adam. You lose your friend. You lose this thing. You lose the job. Because Lilith has deserved a program. Lilith is a rebel. She has the nature of Uranus and the moon. It's an odd combination to have the moon, which is about our intuition, the everyday conditioning of how we feel, and the nature of Uranus, to be a rebel. So it is about being rebellious with what you're feeling, to act on that which you're not allowed to express. Okay? So, let's start. Lilith in the first house. In the first house, or Aries, Lilith is about the self. Can you assert yourself? Can you do what you want and be who you are? It's an injury in identity. Because Aries rules the head. It could also be referring to the first house body, the physical body, your appearance, how you look. Something about it, just people don't like it. And you're afraid of that judgment. So you may hide something about your physical body, something that you need to assert. Basically, living in the first house in Aries is about instinct injury at the most primitive, most basic level. It's where we have to do things to survive, to dominate, to assert our will. And the way we assert our will is considered monstrous, evil in the eyes of others. But it's exactly what we need to do. You need to find out why would you have Lilith in the first house or in Aries in the first place. Like, the only reason you would have this placement is if you are so rigid when it comes to making decisions that you get stuck in the head. You allow your intellect to make decisions for you, because it's basically about your ability to execute. Once a decision is made, once you know what you need to do, Aries, execution. And maybe you are not allowed to execute. Maybe you are not allowed to take charge in your life. You are not allowed to be selfish, because sometimes taking charge means to put everybody else's things on the side. Their considerations are not as important as yours. When Lilith is in the first house or in Aries, you need to do that thing. You need to do the thing that loses the relationship, that makes you look ungraceful, unjust, and simply a lawbreaker, a rule breaker in the eyes of others. This could also have something to do with sexuality, because Aries has a lot to do with sexuality. It has to do with your ability to go for what you want. And what you want is taboo, basically, because Aries is so basic desire driven by Mars. So that basic desire for sex and going for it. You may be interested and attracted to people or to doing things sexually which other people don't want to know anything about, they don't want to see. You feel maybe ashamed about doing this. You'll also meet this shame when you simply do what you want in general. Okay? It's so basic, you'll have to look at other aspects. Like, where exactly do you have Lilith? What is she trying to communicate is to tell you, and look, something that in order to get, I must assert myself, I must be selfish, and this selfishness is blocked. I feel ashamed about this selfishness. So then you need to look at the chart where the selfishness is. But all Lilith in the first house Aries individuals, they share a common theme. The parent didn't want the child to separate and make their own decisions. The parent said, I know what's best for you. You'll have to follow what I say, and if you don't follow what I say, I will make you feel ashamed of yourself. You will be a bad guy. Which is quite unnerving to think that a mother would do this, or a father, but that's generally the source of a problem. So let's live in the first house or in Aries. To recognize that how we feel, ashamed about our selfishness, has nothing to do with reality. It has to do with other people's expectations of what's right and wrong. And we'll have to decide what's right and wrong ourselves. We need to be the executive. We need to be the police officer. We need to be the judge. And we need to judge harshly. With Lilith, it's dark, so it must be harsh. It must be rough. It's what I call heavy metal energy. So there's heavy metal energy when it comes to asserting your will. And you need to keep that in mind and connect to that in the body to feel this darkness in order to release it. Okay, so that's the black moon in the first house Aries. Now let's go to the second house. Lilith in Taurus. So if you're born with Lilith in Taurus or the second house, you'll have an issue with ownership. Keeping things, owning things. So if you get money, if you earn something and you own it, you feel like you're not allowed to be selfish when it comes to your stuff. You feel like you have to share. Whatever you grow, whatever you attain and accumulate, whatever skills you have, talents, resources, money, because that's what the second house in Taurus rule, you feel that you need to give it to others. That you having something has no worth unless it is shared. Because there's so much shame around possessions, you feel the need to prove that what you have is worth it. And it's only worth it when it's good in the eyes of others. It's not worth it if I'm selfish about it. So if I'm a car salesman and I have a lower vibrational expression of Lilith in the second house of Taurus, I will not be able to sell any cars because I can't be selfish with a price. just feel something rotten around being selfish. In these regards, it can also apply to food, issues around food, feeling like you're ravenous. You need to have pleasure that is getting you into trouble, because Lilith is all about trouble, isn't it? So you get into trouble with your dietary choices, maybe, or with what you want to buy, with what you spend your money on. You want to spend your money on things which you know are bad in the eyes of others, because it's just pleasure. It's just gratification of the ego. And that's really what Lilith is looking for, to get. You need that ego gratification. You need to let loose. You need to let go of other people's values. You need to create your own values. What's good for you? What is yours? What is not? What do you enjoy? What gives you pleasure? Has nothing to do with other people. So Lilith in this house, in this sign, Taurus, shows you the need to establish your own value system. Okay? But also has to do with your money or your job. Maybe you feel like you have to prove yourself somehow, that you are a valuable member of society. But in the higher expression, here Lilith makes their own choices. They get the best deals. They know how to enjoy what they have, because what they value is based on how they feel and nothing else. It's so basic, actually, and this is really what you find with the first house, second house, Aries, Taurus placement for Lilith. It's almost too simple. What it comes down to is to understanding that why you have this placement. So why do you have Lilith in the second house of Taurus? Well, because maybe your mother, because the moon is represented by the Lilith, or your father, they pushed their values onto you. They didn't want you to have anything of your own. They owned you, and they made you feel ashamed when you owned yourself. Okay, it's an issue of ownership. So there's Lilith in the second house in Taurus. Let's move on to Lilith in Gemini, or the third house. Now Gemini, as you know, rules communication. It rules our ability to be understood or understand others. Lilith in this house can be interesting because you would think that Lilith here should be a very good listener, but a very bad sharer. They have trouble talking about themselves in the lower expression. In the lower expression, Lilith here is very unhappy about the fact that what she has to say, other people do not want to hear. Lilith is really about the truth that you need to express. You need to share what's on your mind because it's so profound, it's so wise. There's a witchy, instinctive part of it that's intuitive and psychic that other people, they can't understand. So they'll ridicule. They reject what they don't understand. They are afraid of your judgment that comes through your words, which may not be judgment at all, but you are being persecuted nonetheless for what you have to say. And perhaps you need to bring it up a notch. To get Lilith in Gemini in the third house into the higher expression is to say those things with passion. To speak with passion is to say what's on your mind, knowing it will hurt people. Because that's just how it works. Lilith is heavy metal energy, okay? It's literally like, I need to tune up the volume, and it's going to be dark, it's going to cause contractions, it's going to make people feel separate from me. Whatever I say will cause separation when it is true, when it is right, and when it is healthy. And so simply know that the good stuff that you have to share will get you rejected and shamed by others. Automatically, you know it must be good, because that is what Lilith here is communicating. The good stuff nobody wants to hear, but it's good. Okay? So you just have to say it. Lilith in the third house in the higher expression in Gemini, they make excellent listeners. They know exactly the thing that other people need to hear in order to transform and change, to be empowered. Lilith is looking really to connect back to source, back to the truth, back to that which matters the most, regardless if other people want to hear it. And they make very good people who persuade with their words, because there's so much energy, so much passion and zest in intuiting what is the other person thinking about this, what I have to say. You have a sixth sense for their thoughts, so it can also be telepathy. It has to do with its placement. Now, Lilith in the 4th house or in Cancer, here Lilith really finds her domicile, doesn't she? Because it is ruled by the moon, must be having to do with Cancer, the motherly energy that you wouldn't think Lilith represents. But she's the first woman. Okay, so she must have that energy. It's just obvious, logical. Well, actually, I think some people will say Lilith has domicile in Scorpio or Gemini. Well, it could also have its domicile in Cancer. The truth is we don't really know. But it's definitely going to be home there. Because Lilith is about the root. The root that feels something and needs to act on it. And guess what? Cancer is a cardinal sign that needs to act on what? Water element feeling. It's literally what Lilith is about. That's what Cancer is about. So it makes much more sense to associate Cancer with a sign. But that's just my opinion. Anyways, as a Lilith expert, I have Lilith conjunction with Sun in Cancer. So I'll be talking about my own placement now. Now, Lilith in Cancer is about not being given the compassion, the nurturing, and the protection that you need. Feeling like if you ask for your needs to be met, for your feelings to be considered, you are selfish in the eyes of others. Of course, it's ridiculous. To consider your feelings, to have compassion for you, is not selfish. But here Lilith demands compassion. You want that compassion that you have not been given. And this can make the Lilith in Cancer person very cold and detached from themselves, towards themselves, but not towards others. Towards others in the lowest expression, Lilith in Cancer is about playing the mother for others, having all the compassion that they needed, but not giving it to themselves, giving it to everyone else, thinking that if I don't give them the compassion they need, I am bad and selfish, but I cannot possibly ask for any compassion myself. Because Cancer is the sign of I am your mother, I take care of your needs, so your needs are not taken care of, and you're used to hiding your needs, because it's like the black moon, it hides in Cancer, hides the root. So it's very, very likely, because we see a lot of narcissistic or psychopathic abuse, getting people stuck in debt and disconnected from the root, that maybe with Lilith in Cancer or the 4th house, you have had a very abusive parent. Most likely, in most cases, a motherly figure. Whoever was supposed to provide for your needs really trashed your needs like they're nothing, like bulldozed them, like they're not even there, like they're not even aware of what your needs are. And guess what? If you're a child and your parent is not even aware, not even cognitively, it's not even on the radar what you're feeling, then how can it be on the radar for you? You'll be repressing what's on your radar, what you're feeling, and what you're needing. But you'll be hyper vigilant for what other people need. Because now you are the parent, you are the mother. And of course, that's really the golden nugget in Lilith in Cancer, that you're so aware of the hidden needs, hidden feelings of others. But you have a blind spot when it comes to yourself. And now Lilith in the highest expression is rising up. Take back the control. Take back being mother to yourself. Simply what you feel, what your needs are in the moment, no matter how small and irrelevant they may appear. They are important, and you must act on them. And guess what? Once you do that, you'll feel ashamed, you feel bad, until you recognize that you are separate from other people and you cannot be their parent. So Lilith in Cancer probably has a very high tendency to attract, again, narcissistic or psychopathic individuals, where it's all about their needs, but not about yours. So of course, because you are operating that way, you get exactly what you are feeling on the inside. You get treated the way you treat yourself, really. And that's the essence of this placement. Now, Lilith in the 5th house, or Leo. Lilith and Leo in the 5th house is an injury of creativity and self-expression. It can also have the undertones of Lilith in the Sun, because I have this placement. It may feel like you are not being acknowledged. Your products, your expressions, your joy, your play, when you play games, when you beat someone in a game, when you're in a competition, when you're proud about your achievements, nobody except you recognizes them. So it's a problem of recognition, not being recognized. So you feel like you're unworthy of recognition. In the lower expression, you'll hide your pride, you'll hide your accomplishments. But in the highest expression, you'll show, of course, exactly what you are about. And guess what? People will think you're arrogant, you're so full of yourself, like you're so full of self-love for the things that you are doing, which shouldn't make you feel good about yourself. People don't want you to feel good about your achievements, about your creativity, about your expression. They want you to feel like your expression is wrong, like just the way you present yourself, how you feel about yourself. Your self-worth, your self-image is disrupted in the eyes of others, and you're supposed to not even have a self-image, perhaps. So you hide the image that you have of yourself. You hide the fact that whatever is lovable about you is not worthy of being recognized by others. So it's an issue of self-love and reconnecting to that. And in its higher expression, Lilith in Leo in the 5th house is about coming back to something creative, something artistic, something joyful that brings you also joy. Also, by the way, sex is ruled by the 5th house in Leo. So it's very likely to show up in your romance with other people, that you go for what you want, that you seduce people. Something very seductive about how Lilith and Leo in the 5th house express themselves, how they show themselves. It's like they lure you in. And this is what they need to do. This is their power. This is where they get their joy from. And I hope that it makes sense for you, Lilith in the 5th house and Leo. Now let's go to Lilith in Virgo, or the 6th house. Now Virgo, of course, is ruling digestion, diet, health, our everyday routine, things that we need to do. So Lilith may feel like no matter how you do your routine, it's never good enough. Either your routine is something that is just completely dysfunctional, like you, in its lower expression, want to control your routine quite rigorously, because your mission is to fix problems that other people don't want you to fix, to care about issues that other people don't care about. It's about looking at all those things that Virgo is picky at, Virgo is critical of, and recognizing that your criticism is neither wanted nor appreciated. Nobody wants your criticism. Growing up, maybe you have somebody criticizing you, so you're criticizing yourself, and you're trying to be perfect, thinking that if you are not perfect, other people will demolish you and you are worthy of being ashamed. But of course, in Virgo in the 6th house, this is an issue of there's something I need to fix, but I need to fix it my way. What I think needs to be fixed. It's about making decisions that other people just do not approve of. So maybe your diet is very unusual, maybe you fluctuate a lot, and maybe you give other people advice about the diet that they don't want to hear, but you just intuitively know what is it that another person needs to improve their health. You have a psychic sixth sense for health problems and the cause of those problems, which is psychological and spiritual in nature, because it's a spiritual placement. So there needs to be a spiritual way you deal with diet. Maybe you need to look at how you are not being nurtured, because the dark's the moon. So it would indicate that however you solve problems is not giving you the satisfaction that you need. It's almost like you need to sacrifice your pleasure to maintain your health, to maintain your everyday routine, your work. You can even become obsessed with work or addicted to it for a while, and then you'll feel like you can't restore any balance, so you completely let go of the whole issue altogether. But somehow, into the higher expression, Lilith must come out through your work and what you do. How you take on other people's challenges and find problems for solutions. This could also have to do with healing abilities, to be able to tell what the issue is, which other people cannot see and cannot even relate to. Because there's something surprising, something revelation-like about this placement when it comes to your health and other people's health. And these people make excellent advisors and counselors when it comes to these problems, but they also are susceptible to disorders in their eating or perfectionism, and they're also susceptible to being afraid of their own judgment, repressing maybe their judgmental tendencies, because they think that nobody is supposed to be that judgmental as I am. But actually, judgmental is exactly what you need to be before you can actually move on and also integrate those problems that you're trying to fix, instead of running away from them or ignoring them when you see them in the world around you. It's supposed to be a fixer, an aggressive one, but one who only does it for their own reasons. It's not about sacrifice, it's not about helping people, it's about helping yourself. So there's Lilith in the 6th house, or in Virgo. Now Lilith in the 7th house, Lilith in Libra. So if you have Lilith in the sign of relationships, in the sign of contracts, court agreements, issues with the law, there's an issue of never feeling like you deserve the relationship that you get. In the law expression, Lilith here feels like they're not good enough for their partner. They need to submit to their partner. They need to put themselves aside in a relationship where it's all about the other person, where it's all about the law and obeying the law, playing by the rules. It's a very codependent place in his lower expression, because Lilith here is very unsure about what is right and wrong. So they ask other people, hey, what is right and wrong to you? It's very similar to Aries Lilith, because Lilith in this axis of Aries Libra, it's all about figuring out, well, what is right? What is the right action? How do you stop feeling ashamed about doing correct action, which may be very, very cold in the eyes of others? There's a certain distance that Lilith in the 7th house and Libra craves. Before they can really connect to others, they must remind themselves how different and separate they are, and that the needs that they have in a relationship can only be met when they meet it themselves, when they take care of it, when they don't become dependent on the partner to provide for their needs. In some ways, Lilith in the original myth was very dependent on Adam at first. Before she decided to leave, she had to figure out, well, if God and Adam tell me to submit, then I guess that must be right. She had to find her voice. So it's about finding your voice in relationships so you can dictate what is right and wrong yourself. In higher expression, these people become lawyers, mediators. They know what is right between two parties and how to negotiate. Because they are detached from people's emotions. They are so separate from them, so distant. They're like a volcano, where it's very logical, very rational, but it's based on how they feel. They can intuit what is the right thing to do in every situation. And this is how they also avoid relationship difficulties, where they are treated unfairly by others. This should not happen in the higher expression of Lilith in the 7th house in Libra. They should never even spend any time at all with people who treat them unfairly, simply because Libra rules fairness, and Lilith here really demands fairness in all things. It's very critical about that. It's very critical about justice, but justice that Lilith decides for herself. So you can't rely on anybody else. There can be no external validation to when it comes to making decisions, which again is very similar to Aries Lilith. So there's Lilith in Libra in the 7th house. Now let's go to Lilith in Scorpio, or the 8th house. Lilith in this placement is considered by modern astrologers to be the domicile for Lilith, because Lilith rules sexual issues, sexual matters, and has to do with dominance and penetration. And it's feminine, so it does make sense in that regard. I disagree, because I think it's about acting on your feelings, and Scorpio is actually not about acting on your feelings. It's about acting in calculation on your feelings, finding the right time to strike. So here Lilith wants to strike at people's vulnerability, wants to expose where people are wrong in their defenses. Lilith here wants to be naked, wants to be exposed and vulnerable, and also to fix psychological issues that other people don't want to look at. So this is a shadow work kind of Lilith, but this Lilith tends to be very private, because they're very scared that other people will be as judgmental and ashamed about their vulnerabilities as they are. These Lilith individuals, they've been ashamed lots and lots for being vulnerable in their childhood. Like Lilith in the 6th house and in Virgo, Lilith in the 8th house has been judged quite a lot by one parent or the other, and they have been enmeshed. That means their self-worth was entirely dependent on what this Lilith person can provide for other people, what they can sacrifice to others, how they can transform themselves so they can be whatever people need them to be. But of course, this is the lowest of the lowest expression for this Lilith. The highest expression is to transform other people, transform them through being themselves, through authentically going into those vulnerabilities and getting them out, addressing the elephant in the room, and showing other people how to be separate, because the 8th house is about other people's resources and taking control of them. But in the lower expression, this Lilith takes control of them through manipulation, through fawn responding, through avoiding all those issues the other person doesn't want to see in the Lilith person. The Lilith person feels like they're too exposed too easily, like they can't give any room for judgment. But it is exactly what they need to do. They need to be judged by other people, and they need to be judgmental themselves, and then penetrate into people's mind, burn those bridges, and let go of controlling all of those resources. You take control of other people by taking control of yourself, by taking charge of whatever other people are feeling but they don't want to deal with. You take charge of all those things that are repressed in the collective. in the higher expression with his Lilith, you'll basically help other people to transform themselves, because whatever they're looking at, they don't want to, but Lilith here has something to offer, something to share about what they feel inside, which nobody wants to see, and they understand other people's vulnerabilities so well that they can become excellent counselors, and they are very good at intuiting what the other person needs psychologically to get to the next step, to get them to transform. What is it exactly they need at this time, so they can become empowered? Okay, because Lilith in the 8th house deals with power issues, power struggles with a parent. The parent constantly tried to overpower them and control this person, and here the person is asked to take control back, and sometimes it is necessary to do that also for other people, because the 8th house is other people. Okay, so it will only be resolved, the Lilith issue of disempowerment, if you as a Lilith in the 8th house or Scorpio person allow yourself to take control of other people's resources and then let them go. Let them be separate. If they don't want to change, you don't get enmeshed. You don't make their business your business. You simply provide an example of what needs to be done. It's about healthy separation in this house, because this house, like the first house, is ruled by Mars. So Lilith is very happy in the 8th house, very happy in Scorpio. It feels at home. But only once you get out of that enmeshment issue. And the enmeshment issues, I talk a lot about it. Whenever I talk about the 8th house in Scorpio, there is so much enmeshment with the sign. Because why would you even need to transform another person? I mean, it deals with other people, Scorpio, not with you. You think it's about you, but it's not. It's about recognizing how you're separate from other people's shit, and to only change that shit if you really want to. Hence it's ruled by Mars. So that's Lilith in the 8th house and in Scorpio. Now comes Lilith in the 9th house in Sagittarius. Now in this sign and house, we're dealing with an issue of expansion, where we're not allowed to expand in a way. We're not allowed to inflate our ego, because it's the house of where the ego expands into a higher expression. The Lilith here says, whatever I want to do, wherever I want to go with my mind, however I want to expand and become enthusiastic and optimistic and more powerful in my expression, is somehow evil, somehow bad in the eyes of others. So maybe you are not allowed to go certain places. Like there was always a rigid boundary set upon the Lilith Sagittarius 9th house person. Like, look, you can go until this point, but no further. This is where your limit is, and you become painfully aware of your limits. And you'll feel like if you don't limit yourself in how you think about the world, in your perspective, in your religion, in your belief, in your faith, if you don't put yourself into a box of some kind, then you are stupid, then you are unintelligent, then you are worldly. So this may be a parent that shames you, like a cult leader who shames your ability to come to your own conclusions. Like you're not allowed to figure out anything on your own. Like you're not allowed to learn and grow by making your own mistakes after making your own assumptions. It's through your own experiences that you can understand the world and you can grow. Whether you travel, whether you go to sport activities could be, whether it's an issue with pain around making mistakes, or pain around making mistakes when it comes to belief and faith, and proving yourself in the eyes of a higher authority, or taking that authority on like you need to be regulated somehow. And in the lower expression, Lilith here in the 9th house says, whatever you're feeling, you must come to an experience of God yourself. You have to abandon all religious indoctrination, which is very similar to Saturn in the ninth house, because it's basically where you have to put up boundaries, where you have to say, oh no, I will only trust what I feel to be right, and I will only put my faith into things which make sense on a root level. And if I don't do that, I can't function. So you'll probably grow up being surrounded by religious members, and if not, then you're surrounded by people who are just very stuck and who need you to be as stuck as they are, and you need to get unstuck. In the higher expression, live in Sagittarius in the ninth house, is somebody who goes very far, who gets almost obsessed with going into a specific perspective, a specific philosophy and understanding of life, which is no longer dependent on other people's approval, but also they're not afraid of changing their mind if they need to, because it's a mutable house, because Lilith in this house has trouble changing their mind once they get to something. They are afraid that whatever they believe is wrong. Maybe you'll be someone who gets obsessed with religions or certain belief systems, has to explore a lot about the world, and then you find out that whatever you found is not good enough. It's not sufficient. You need to have a personal experience of what the truth is. That can only happen through the body. So these people, Lilith in the ninth houses, they get really disconnected from their own truth, their own personal beliefs, are really mocked and ridiculed by the family. Like, you're not allowed to have your own beliefs, like you're not allowed to have your own conclusions on what the meaning of your life is, what is the meaning of what you want to achieve before you have success. To have success means to also be selfish when it comes to your beliefs. Like, if you don't believe in helping people, then you should not help people. You should not say, oh, but you are supposed to help people, so I need to do this, I need to do that. This has to be completely abandoned by the Lilith in the ninth house Sagittarius person. This is much more ambitious about being selfish than some of the other houses in signs, because Sagittarius is very straightforward. Yeah, it's very rebellious kind of energy, and these people, they can be a little bit Aquarius-like, I like to say. They just don't like to follow anybody's rules, and then they feel ashamed that they don't follow those rules, but they need to get over that shame. They really have to, and then they can actually feel good about what their perspective of the world is, even if it's not healthy in some ways, if it's not perfect in the eyes of God, in the eyes of the mother, in the eyes of the world, because they determine what their perspective of the world is and nothing else. So that's Lilith in the ninth house Sagittarius. Now Lilith in Capricorn, or the 10th house. If you have Lilith here, you have an injury in regards to ambition, in regards to career choices and reputation. So this Lilith person, they struggle early on, feeling good about their achievements. They feel like success in the world is blocked. Like, I can only succeed by making sacrifices. I can only have a good reputation by hiding who I am. I can only be successful in my career, I can only achieve something of success in the world outside of myself if I abandon and hide myself. Live in this house in Sign Capricorn is very tricky energy, because here you say basically your mother or your father constantly mocked or ridiculed whatever achievements you made. Like, it was just never good enough. You had to do more and more and more. And in order to do that, you needed to get over what your personal feelings are. You weren't allowed to pursue your own career, your own passion. Your passion had no place in your career growing up. And your passion, once it was expressed, only got you into trouble, ruined your reputation, took away opportunities from you. And now as an adult, for the high expression of Lilith, you learn how to be your own entrepreneur. These people can be very independent in the high expression in terms of what their career is, what kind of job do they have, how are other people looking at them. They bring the Lilith to the public eye. So other people will ridicule you a lot when it comes to your career. You're doing something very unusual. You need to do something where maybe you work for an underdog. Like you work for those who are repressed, misfits, rejected by the collective. You'll get a job there. You become the emissary of those who are broken and abandoned in the gutter. You'll be looking with Lilith in the 10th house, finding job opportunities which other people would not think that were possible. Other people do not think that it's possible to be yourself when it comes to your career, but you have to make it possible. Lilith here finds a way, because Lilith in the 10th house and in Capricorn, remember, it's about empowerment of the feminine within. Empowerment of how you take decisions based on how you feel, and this is how you get a very keen business sense that can't be rationally understood. And this business sense has to do with doing things in your business which are so unusual, so forbidden and taboo, that it may get you into a lot of trouble. Maybe with authorities, other people who are supposed to determine if you can work with others. Before you go into the 11th house, you look for being accepted in the 10th house by other people. Being regarded as a success by others must happen for you only by being a success towards how you feel about yourself. And how you feel about yourself is determined by, is this success that I'm getting in alignment with my rebellious and individual attitude? The Lilith brings an attitude to Capricorn in the 10th house. She brings an attitude of, wait a second, if you want to achieve anything, you need to consider me. You need to consider just how much not in alignment my feelings are with this career choice. And then, when you know when to say no, when you know when to say to other people, no, I know what career is not for me. I know who I am in the public. I don't care if my reputation gets ruined. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Only then do you actually get success. And do you actually feel good with your accomplishments. And you need to get over the shame in this regard as well. And there will be lessons with Lilith in this house and sign, because there is a lesson of taking responsibility for your reputation. Look, if being yourself means other people reject you, you are not responsible for being rejected in a job that is not right for you. Lilith and the 10th house and Capricorn people, they feel like whatever job they pursue, whatever success they will not get in the world, is their fault. When actually it may simply mean that they do not belong there, and they have to leave and separate from that place, from that group, that community, that boss, whatever they're working on, whoever they're working with. They need to show just how independent they are. And that's how it works. This Lilith is a bad worker. If you're looking to hire someone and you see Lilith in the 10th house or in Capricorn, they may have trouble showing who they are initially, and you don't even know just how many misgivings they have with a job until you have already hired them, and when it's too late and they quit the job and you've wasted all the time. You don't want that to happen. Lilith needs to be integrated here, and then this doesn't happen, and you will not waste your time jumping from one career to another, changing your public image, changing your name, your reputation, how you look. This won't fluctuate much once it's integrated. You will just know what you're supposed to do. Okay, so there's Lilith in Capricorn, the 10th house. Oh, I have a spammer and I need to block that person. Bye. Okay, so Lilith in the 11th house. Lilith in Aquarius. What is it about? Here we have the sign of friends, the sign of community. We have a sign of progress, of the collective. The collective consciousness is in this sign and house. So we are rejected by our friends. We are rejected for our ideas that we bring the collective, and we feel like what we are conscious of, other people aren't conscious of that. There's these connections that we have with other people, these friendships that we pursue, that are not in alignment with who we are growing up. And we may be a loner, we maybe have trouble fitting into any kind of group, and we're moving from group to group, feeling like we don't really fit anywhere, and what can we do? We are a misfit. We have some ideas about relating to other people, which gets us into trouble, where people feel like we have no loyalty to anyone. So we feel like we need to prove our loyalty. Lilith in the 11th house becomes a little bit too loyal to their friends. Okay, remember, Lilith shows where we need to separate. So of course we need to separate from our friends. Our friends aren't good for you. Lilith in the 11th house in Aquarius, they often get into troubles with the collective. They get into quarrels easily because they have such unusual and rebellious attitudes and ideas. Uranus rules this house, and Lilith has the nature of Uranus, so you really bring something that other people don't know how to relate with. It's like the moment you show this, people show you who they are. You get to see who are your friends and who are not when you show yourself. And then you feel ashamed because it threatens your relationships. Lilith in the 11th house in Aquarius likely had early childhood attachments to friends, which was so strong, they felt dependent on that friendship. They felt like this friend is like a parent. This friend gets all my needs met. This friend is what I need to take care of. I need this connection. But I can't have this if I am myself. So I must hide myself in the group. I need to be in the background. Actually, this is the lowest expression of the Lilith in the 11th house Aquarius. They hide whatever unusual ideas they have, and they feel that because they're so weird, their art, their production, their words, whatever presents them on a deep level to others, is just too strange, so they don't even bother to show it. In the highest expression, they'll find money, success, advancements in the career, because these are represented by Aquarius in the 11th house. Remember, Uranus rules it, and Uranus rules sudden surprises, shocks, revelations, birthdays, promotion. These people tend to get promoted through their Lilith, because the 11th house in Aquarius also rule hopes, wishes, dreams. The Wheel of Fortune card in Tarot. Lilith here brings you the Wheel of Fortune. You get fortunate because you now find your tribe. By showing what your tribe is through yourself, you show your Lilith in your art, in your friendships. Everybody knows, oh, this person, she is trouble. And then somebody comes who recognizes the trouble, and they will bring you new connections to more troublemakers. And suddenly, before you know it, you're surrounded. You're surrounded by rebels. These are your friends. And these give you great accomplishments and advantages in the career. And also, you'll find through your friendships a lot of intimacy. It's through your friendships that you also get sex. So you get sexually attracted to your friends more than those people who seem closest to you. You get very interested, emotionally attached to people who are outside of you or far away. So you become a bridge. between those who are closed and those who are far away. You bring people together. You are a community figure. Ironically, you are repelled and rejected from the community, and yet you are exactly what the community needs to come together, to combine the misfits with the normal people, because you are the bridge, you are the medium, the psychic, the witch, the Lilith, in the house and sign of friends. Okay, this is the highest expression here. So that makes sense, and that's Lilith in the 11th house, Aquarius. Now let's talk about Lilith in Pisces. Lilith in the 12th house, of the collective unconscious, of the invisible realm, of a psychic but nobody can see. It's the house of and sign of compassion. So Lilith people here, they feel like their compassion, their love, what they have to give unconditionally is neither appreciated nor is it wanted by other people. These are the kinds of people they're considered weak by others. I live in the 12th house, so I can tell you that I've often felt like I need to be ashamed for my compassion, for how much I care, how much I want to give my love to complete strangers, people I just randomly meet on the street, see from time to time. My compassion goes so wide, there's no bounds. And there's also, at the same time, there's a rejection of those people who I don't have compassion for. Not only does the Lilith in the 12th house person gets rejected for their compassion, which is considered to be a sign of weakness and something fake. Our people can't understand it, so they think you can't be serious. You can't actually care that much, but you do. So they think you're faking it, and you feel like an imposter. You feel like you have to hide your sensitivity, your psychic gifts, your insights, whatever you know about other people and what they feel. You feel like it's so unconscious, nobody can see it. It's the house of your unconscious. So of course you're not allowed to share, because you are evil. You are the projector. You're just projecting. You're just imagining things. You're just crazy. You're difficult. You make things up. You're so crazy. You're so out there with your ideas. But Lilith in the 12th house really finds a safe haven for her psychic gifts. She knows what her gifts are, but nobody else can recognize them. So these people tend to be very alone with their imagination. The imagination of a Lilith in the Pisces 12th house individual is very closed off. They keep their psychic images to themselves in the lowest expression. They feel like there's no way. This is so otherworldly. This is so nightmarish. There must be something monstrous about their imagination, something sexual also, that is perhaps perverted in the eyes of others. Perhaps it is wrong. But it is the raw nature of Lilith to bring something that is taboo, but it must be expressed. Even in the most hidden place for Lilith to be, in the 12th house, where nobody else can appreciate it. But guess what? There are ways to communicate that which cannot be communicated directly and rationally. The 12th house in Pisces. It's not the rational mind. Mercury is in detriment in this sign. Guess why? Because it's not about communicating here. It's about sharing an image of something. It's about metaphors. It's about poetry. It's about making something artistic, giving something to the world which can't be communicated to the mind. It has to be communicated through the root. Again, Lilith, root-based. Always remember. Remember that the only way to give people the compassion that you want to give them, to share your imagination with them, is through feelings that can only be communicated through metaphors, something vague, something uncertain, something that cannot be grasped by the rational mind, but you have a feeling. You know what it is. You know what is real, but only your gut knows. Only Lilith knows. Not you. You have a fragment of Lilith in the 12th house of Pisces that is longing to share an intuition and a sensitivity that forces you into withdrawal, forces you to become isolated from other people, because it's just so dark, it's just so weird, because it's psychic, it cannot be grasped by the rational mind. But you'll give it to them. In the highest expression, you become an emissary of the hidden realms. In the 12th house in Pisces, we communicate only the astral realm. The unconscious of a collective is the area of archetypes, my area, because I have most planets there. It's the area that you want to talk about. It's the area in which you need to be yourself, but you can only be Lilith here if you show through your weird imagination, through your weird sexuality, your weird, repressed, self-isolating imagination that other people cannot relate to because it's too far away, it's too unconscious. It's only through sharing that will you see that you are separate from others. Will you indeed find people move away from you? But guess what? This 12th house is also the house of karma. Pisces is the sign of resolution through dissolution. Putting an end. What are you putting an end to? Hiding yourself. Lilith. Putting an end to that which other people don't want to see. Yes, they must not see it, so you hide it. No. Put an end to that, and Lilith will shine. She shines in this house through intuiting something, then simply expressing it, seeing the bewildered look on another person's face, the person being confused, because also it's the house of illusion. Okay, Pisces in 12th house, sign of illusion. So you may surprise a person, like, where is this coming from? But it's coming from somewhere. You're not crazy. They think you're crazy, but you're not. And that's Lilith and Pisces in a nutshell. So if you like this is basically it, yeah? Lilith through all the signs and houses. So let's sum it up. What is Lilith actually about? Lilith is about rejecting yourself. Do you see a pattern here? It's the wisdom within. It is through the body, through the root chakra, the instinct. It brings knowledge of good and evil. Something that is rebellious because nobody else can tolerate it initially. It's about breaking free from the shame that are like shackles, binding you to this realm of programming. It's about autonomy, self-governance. Take it back. The mind is a receiver. Something is being received from the root. You must act on it. And only when you act on the true self, you are forced to separate in order to individuate, which is a product that is counter or contrary to what society wants you to be. Therefore, it is essentially about a taboo. Of course, the Lilith archetype is so important as a feminine principle of darkness. It encompasses all the keywords of the following. So if you have Lilith in any house or sign, look at these keywords. Keywords are self-rejection, because the collective wants you, needs you to submit, to reject yourself. So you hide. Number 2, taboo, separation, because you need to separate from the shame they're trying to use to control and make you submit. Number 4, revelation. With the nature of Uranus, she brings us revelation from the root that we wouldn't even think of or dream of, but we can sense what the truth is. And the truth is contrary to what everybody else is saying. So it's Uranus, it's rebellious. Sexuality, number 5, because sexuality here is represented by the sign and house Lilith is in. It's an energy that is repressed in the person. So this is a repressed part of your sexuality. A repressed part which says, I like this. Lilith shows you what you like very deeply. You want it. But you want to take domination of it. You want to be selfish. Selfishly, you want to pursue this object of your pleasure, and you are rejected for wanting what you want in this house and sign. Number 6, Lilith is the voice of the wild. Number 7, it's preternatural knowledge. It's psychic instinct, witchcraft, black magic. Black magic! Black magic, nobody wants to do black magic. Everybody says, no, it will be bad karma. That is Jehovah, God in the Bible. He says, if you leave the garden, you will be punished. Yes, you must leave the garden. Revolution is Lilith. Rising against what? The collective, the group. Adam, God, what do they represent? External authority which tries to dictate what is right and what is wrong. Demonic forces which are suppressing and controlling us through the shadow, which Lilith represents. Lilith is the shadow. Lilith is the monster that we need to integrate, to overcome those very same monsters we're trying to avoid. A primal scream comes out through rage when Lilith finally breaks free from all the repression because she refuses to give in. Natural reactions that are often demonized, misunderstood, and villainized by the collective. From the root, there you have it. Intuition from the root needs to be channeled, transformed through your actions. You must act on your mediumship, your occult sensitivity, the unconscious inspiration, which Lilith represents in your chart, which she brings as a channel for clairaudience and clairvoyance into a higher dimension, beyond the rational mind. Exceptional insight that must be harnessed and acted upon to fulfill a mission that is taboo in your life. And once you fulfill the mission, you have an unexplainable perception that leads to an insight that is shedding a light upon the moment, shedding a light upon where your power is from, where it's coming from, and it's not through external validation. Your self-worth is not dependent on anybody that doesn't understand the clearness of your observation, which only comes from a place of feeling, not rational. A simple yes or no from your body will suffice to lead your Lilith to resolution. So I hope you enjoyed this explanation of Lilith through the houses and signs. And if you like this, you can also give a like and a subscribe, leave a comment if you have any questions about your Lilith placement. If you like to learn more about your natal chart and your aspects and the psychological aspects of everything that you have in your blueprint, you can reach out to me for a consultation. I'm always available on Messenger, on Facebook. So thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next video.